the WNBA just gave its players an ultimatum. Agree to a deal by March 10, or the most anticipated season in women's basketball history may never tip off. Right now, 80% of the league is sitting in free agency. Caitlin Clark has no team around her, and the players' union is still holding out for a revenue split the owners will never agree to. But the deal that's already on the table? It's not the insult the union is pretending it is. Listen to this.
You say to a person that if we don't have an agreement by March 10th, the deal that you are pondering for acceptance by March 10th, which may be given to you March 9th, March 8th.
That's former MLB team president David Samson breaking down what the WNBA already put on the table: housing increases, salary increases, real improvements to player quality of life. The union said no. Not because the offer was bad. Because they want revenue sharing the league has made clear is off the table. If this is the kind of content that keeps you locked in on what's really happening in the WNBA, hit that subscribe button and the bell so you never miss a video. But here's what makes this situation genuinely dangerous. It's not just about money anymore. There is a logistical nightmare building behind the scenes that could make a May 8th tip-off physically impossible, and what a former MLB executive just revealed about how this negotiation should actually work proves the WNBA might be making the biggest mistake of all, not by being too hard on the union, but by being too soft.
Is there a scenario where you could conduct a two-team expansion draft, have free agency where 80% of the women are free agents currently, side note, have training camp, do the college draft?
The answer is no. And the math proves it. The WNBA's schedule is already out. May 8th is the season opener. But between now and then, the league needs to finalize a CBA, conduct an expansion draft for two brand new franchises, Toronto and Portland, process free agency for roughly 80% of its players, hold a college draft that includes potential number 1 pick Paige Bueckers, and then somehow fit in training camp. Every single one of those steps requires a signed agreement first. None of them can happen in parallel. They are sequential dominoes, and the first one hasn't fallen yet. And at the center of all of this is Caitlin Clark, the player who single-handedly turned the WNBA into must-see television. The player whose Indiana Fever need free agency to open so they can build a roster around her. The player whose marketability is the entire reason expansion teams are selling for record valuations. She's sitting at home right now, waiting. While the players' union argues over a revenue percentage on money that exists largely because of her. Let that irony sink in for a second. But the real problem isn't the union's greed, it's the WNBA's response to it. The WNBA set a March 10th deadline. That part they got right. But here's what they got wrong: they didn't attach any consequences to it. Think about that for a second. They told the players' union, get a deal done by March 10th or the season might be impacted. Might. That's not a deadline. That's a suggestion. And the union knows it. The WNBA has set deadlines before. Drawn lines in the sand before. And every single time, they blinked. So why would the union believe them now? Here's what actual leverage sounds like when it comes from someone who's done this before.
The WNBA should just come out and say, hey, we need a deal right now. Next deal, worse. Deal after that, worse. Deal after that, worse. Just try me. Just try me that I'm not telling you the truth.
That is not some random hot take. That's David Samson, former president of the Miami Marlins, a man who sat across the table from player unions for years. And won. His playbook is simple. You don't just set a deadline. You set escalating consequences. March 10th passes with no deal. The housing increase comes off the table. March 15th, the salary bumps shrink. March 20th, the offer goes back to square one. That's how you negotiate when hundreds of millions of dollars and an entire season are on the line. You don't hint at consequences. You promise them. And then you follow through. Because the moment you don't follow through, and this is the part the WNBA needs to hear, you lose all leverage. Permanently. And that's not just a theory. That's exactly what's about to happen if the WNBA doesn't change course in the next 14 days. Let's be real about what's happening here. The Players' Union opted out of the last CBA back in November. They've had months to negotiate. Months, and in that time, the WNBA came to the table with real money. Better housing. Higher minimums. Tangible improvements to the daily lives of players. And the union's response? Not good enough. We want revenue sharing. Revenue sharing on what, exactly? On a league that lost money for over 2 decades? On a league that only became nationally relevant because one player from Iowa decided to enter the draft? The union isn't fighting for fairness, they're fighting for a percentage of a pie that Caitlin Clark baked. And while they fight, 80% of their own members are sitting at home with no contracts, no teams, and no idea if there's even going to be a season. Who exactly is the union protecting here? Because it's not the players. And here's the warning every person in that negotiating room needs to hear.
But then you have to follow through. Because if your child, your partner, your parent, the people with whom you work, the people against whom you negotiate, the agents, if they all believe that you are not
lost them forever. Let that phrase sit for a second, because it applies to both sides of this table. And let's stop pretending the NBA isn't in the room. Adam Silver's fingerprints are all over this March 10th deadline. Multiple NBA owners now hold stakes in WNBA expansion franchises. The NBA's 11-year media deal, reportedly worth $76 billion, includes WNBA broadcast rights baked right in. This isn't just Kathy Engelbert's problem. This is the NBA's investment on the line.
NBA and through the commissioner and however else you want to say that the NBA is not involved with the WNBA, you're just wrong. WNBA has a deadline now of March 10th.
The people writing the checks, the NBA owners, the media partners, the expansion investors, are watching this unfold in real time. They didn't pour hundreds of millions into this league to watch a players' union burn the season down over a revenue split. The pressure isn't just coming from the WNBA front office anymore, it's coming from the people who own the front office, and those people do not bluff. So where does that leave us? Here's the bottom line. March 10th is 14 days away. The WNBA has set its deadline. The union is calling the bluff. And Caitlin Clark, the single biggest reason this league has a future, is caught in the middle with no roster and no certainty. One of two things is about to happen. Either the union signs and the most anticipated season in WNBA history kicks off on May 8th. Or they don't, the deadline passes, and the league finds out exactly how much leverage it actually has. Either way, the next 2 weeks will define the WNBA for the next decade. Drop your prediction in the comments, deal or no deal by March 10th, subscribe and hit that bell, because when this CBA situation breaks, this channel will have the breakdown before anyone else. Because at the end of the day, Caitlin Clark didn't just change the WNBA. She gave it a future. The only question is whether the players' union will let that future happen.